Hi, welcome back. So today's the 9th of November. I received this Midi DX2 from Alien Knives a few days ago. I'm going to continue to carry it for the next 2 weeks, and then I'll tack on the final part of the review onto the end of this video. It's a 14C28N blade. I want to read off the specs from their site. I'm not going to bother trying to measure everything out and BS you. Blade length 2.76, blade thickness 0.125, overall open length 7.125. Close handle length 4 1/4, handle thickness 0.47. Alright, so you got different ways to deployment here. You can push button, light switch, you can roll out, you can flick, you can reverse flick. However, I have to pinch above the pivot to get any sort of leverage. If not, I'm killing my finger trying to open it. So far it's working great. I haven't had any issues. Why would I? It's a knife. I will say my number one favorite thing with this knife is the shiny, polished, tumble finish on it. I love that. And it pretty good action. The liners are rather thick, honestly, for how small this handle actually is, and both liners are that thick. It's going to be hard to destroy this thing, and it's running 2 body screws. They are T6s. I wish they were T8s. Beggars can't be choosers. The hardware on the pivot does rotate. You have to have 2 screwdrivers to make that not happen. Aesthetically, the reason I'm doing the video at this angle and not the typical looking down at my hands, because people's hand size are different. My hand size looks bigger here compared to here. You put it back here. I don't know how many times I've bought knives and thought, that looks like a pretty above average size knife, and I get it and it's just like, no. A lot smaller than what I anticipated. This was date of birth 10/1/2021. On all his knives, you get these little cards. So, I don't know if I mentioned the blade steel, 14C28N. A lot of people's going to say that's the best bang for the buck budget steel. Now hearing that, and you know, thinking budget knives, this is a $99 knife. Do with that as you will. I spent my money on it. Am I upset that I've done that? Not at all. I do like it. Let me get it right next to the microphone. That's my fingers, fingernail, and the G10 is holding up rather nicely. And I do like slab side scales. I do get full contact. I'm not really worried about it being contoured, you know, that 3D milled BS. Onto the Sharpening Choil. I think that's mainly meant just to be a sharpening choil. I don't think it'd be too smart of an idea to try to run it with your finger in there all the time. You're going to definitely stab yourself, especially right in the little thin skin part of your knuckle. Pocket clip. It is not recessed. The screws are not recessed. I've still not had an issue putting it in my pocket or taking it out. I could care less. However, I think if they're going to be like that, I'd like to have seen a left-handed option, even though I'm not left-handed. It'd just be an easy thing to do. The jade, I think it's a little more milky looking than what I'm used to. It's a little whiter, in other words. I think this would take color rather well. You're not going to have any sort of green undertones per se, really. But this is just the, you know, I've had this thing for 3 or 4 days. My opening interest and thoughts about it. We'll go ahead and get into the full review in a couple weeks. Alright, we're back. So it's been a bit since I recorded the initial part of the video. I recorded it on November 9th. Today is December 6th. This thing has loosened up a lot since I've had it. I carried it at least 3 to 4 times a week to work. For a bit, just the flipper was all I could do, because doing the reverse flick was just killing my finger. But everything's loosened up nicely. I haven't had it tighten down the pivot or any of the body screws. Nothing has became loose. We're still centered. No wear on the blade that is visual. I have stropped this once or twice. Well, the pocket clip is expected to have a little bit of wear on it. Right up there. But that is it. Great knife, especially for how small it is. I compared it to a lot of my other knives, and handle to blade ratio, this is up there. I will say one thing I was worried about was access to lock bar. You see it right there. Basically anything from this hump to about right here is going to be your engagement for the lock bar. And you know, not to worry, all the way back at the back, the flipper tab is going to hit your, all the way back here, the flipper tab is going to hit your finger. So you don't have to worry about it. And it's, very smooth. Haven't had to oil it. Been a great knife. The only thing I see that's a little weird is sometimes disengaging the lock bar, it'll make like a weird whiny noise. That's just the metal rubbing together, I guess. Maybe if I polished up the lock bar face a little bit on the blade, it may go away. No big deal. If you have an issue with access to lock bar, there is a lot of material right in there on the non-clip side face. Just take the scale off, knock this section down with some sandpaper. I don't think I'll have that issue. Literally, I'd say about 20% of my knives I've had to take apart, grind down the scale, or in some cases, the actual frame to get more access to the lock bar. But the detent is great. Even when you get it to the detent, it doesn't bounce back. Great detent. Being 14C 28N, no rust issues. I did notice some of my D2 blades were starting to get little pits of rust on them. I'm not going to see that issue as easily with the 14C. But great knife overall. I'll put a link below for it. I cannot get over the color of the jade. It's got that milky look to it, and it's nice, like raised up dimples or something like that. It doesn't have that, they ran it over with a mill kind of a feel to it. Nice uniform texture. Once again, I love slab sides. That contoured stuff is cool to an extent. Then you realize you have to hold it around the contoured G10, but the slab side, it's just easy to hold it for me. So there you go, the Midi DX2 from Alien Knives. And if you ever want to dye the scales, I'm not going to. I like the way this looks. Then that is up to you. One thing I might consider doing, taking the scales off, really cleaning the outside of the frame and painting it with bright purple. That way it shines through. I think that would look pretty cool. That would be the only thing I would consider doing because that is reversible. I can hit it with acetone and take the paint off. But there you go. I'll put a link below for this. And check out his other knives if this doesn't tickle your fancy. Doesn't tickle your pickle, whatever. Alright, there you go. We'll be seeing you.